Hello everyone. This is a series of videos that is going to talk about the nervous system and its organization. This information is found in chapter 12 of your text. It's also found in your outlines and your PowerPoint slides having to do with this chapter. So the nervous system has a flow of information, which we've talked about before. And if you remember, it always starts with a stimulus. The stimulus is the change that the body's picking up, and it's picked up by receptors, and we're going to talk later in the chapters about the different types of receptors. But those receptors then move that information or send it to the central nervous system, and in the central nervous system evaluates the information, sends a response to the effectors. Those effectors will then produce an action, and whatever that action is produces an outcome or some type of change. If you look at the nervous system's major divisions, we have the CNS, which is the central nervous system, and we have the PNS, which is the peripheral nervous system. The CNS consists of the brain and the spinal cord, and this is where your processing power is in the nervous system. The PNS consists of the effectors, the receptors, and nerves or tracts. So let's take a look at each of those. If you'll remember, effectors, we have two types. We have muscles and glands, and we have three types of muscles. We have skeletal muscle, cardiac, and smooth. Now, we learned that skeletal muscle is voluntary, which means you can control it consciously. And then we have three involuntary effectors, which are your cardiac muscle, smooth muscle, and glands. So these three here are involuntary, and skeletal is voluntary. We have receptors, and as I said before, receptors receive the sensory information coming from either the surface of the body, like the skin, or from organs or viscera. The last two components of the peripheral nervous system include the nerves and the tracts. Nerves and tracts are basically bundles of axons that are carrying information in the same direction or from the same area. If the bundle of axons are in the PNS, then it's called a nerve. If the bundle of axons are in the CNS, then it's called a tract. So to understand bundles of axons, let's look at a neuron. Now your neuron is the functional unit of the nervous system. In other words, this is the cell that produces the electrical stimulus. Now neurons consist of two types of processes, dendrites and axons. Dendrites are your antenna. They receive signals from the other neurons. Axons are a long process that generates the electrical stimulus known as an action potential. Okay? That action potential or that electrical stimulus then travels to the terminal axon, and from there the terminal axon can then stimulate the next neuron. So if you have a bunch of neurons, which I've drawn here, we have three neurons, and the axons of those three neurons are now called nerves if they're in the PNS, or tracts if they're in the CNS. Now the next video is going to look at the organization of the PNS.